365 Sports.
We've got a multitude of Kansas City Chiefs news to get to here today as updates on Rashee Rice and some new allegations against him. We take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs and their 2026 opponent lineup. Plus, the Chiefs fire a wide receiver coach. And speaking of wide receivers, is Hollywood Brown officially done with the Kansas City Chiefs? Well, it seems like it is after a cryptic tweet was sent out. We'll get you what you need to know on the Kansas City Chiefs right here on the Chiefs Report, a part of 365 Sports. I'm Jace Andrews, and we appreciate you hanging out with us and tuning in to today's show. Got lots to discuss, and boy, oh boy, is it going to be a jam-packed show. Happy you chose to stick around with us here on the channel. And I want to stick around with us longer. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free to do so. We've noticed that over 97% of you who watch these videos, you're not yet subscribed. So go down there and hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free to do so. And that way you're going to get every single piece of Chiefs news right there at your fingertips. Plus, it's the best way to support the channel. And if you're listening on Apple Music or Spotify, make sure you follow us, get your latest Chiefs news whenever you're driving to work, whether you're driving home from work, at the gym. We can always get you what you need to know, and I promise you, we'll always make sure you're up to date. So the biggest story of the day is Rashee Rice. Now, in case you are unaware, yesterday there were some new allegations placed against Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. Just a heads up, this is a domestic violence case. I will warn that ahead of sharing some of the descriptions and photos. But here is the tweet, and I'm using ML Football just because they had the best description of it. I don't trust them as a reliable source, but besides the point, here's kind of the thing. Chief star wide receiver Rashee Rice's ex-girlfriend, Dakota Nicole, has accused him of basically domestic violence in an Instagram post, saying that it's been 8 years now, saying she is no longer protecting his image and is focusing on healing with their kids. There were 14 photos in this alleged post. I'm not going to click into all of them, but you can sit here, and if you'd like to take a pause and read the entire descriptor that his ex-girlfriend gave, go ahead and do so. If you're listening on Off Music, Spotify, it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram. Just look up Rashee Rice. There's not a point for me to get all into that, just because right now want to focus on what the facts we know and everything. So yesterday, ESPN did release an article, and they did say that basically they are aware of the abuse allegations made by his ex-girlfriend. And right now, the Kansas City Chiefs said that, quote, "We have no further comment at this time." Now, obviously, Rashee Rice has been through a lot of tumultuous situations in his career that are, for better or for worse, his own doing. And if this is the same thing, then it is something to go over. Now, a couple of specific details with this as it relates to Rashee Rice and his ability to be on the Chiefs. Again, not going to go into opinions here, but just going to give you the facts. As of Wednesday night, so yesterday evening, there was not a police report filed amongst the domestic violence in Overland Park, Kansas, or in Dallas, which is the two places that were mentioned in the Instagram post. That's also the two places that Rashee Rice lives. Usually in season, he's in Kansas, obviously, and then he's in Dallas in his off season. It's a lot of things to go into, but the thing is, there is already some backstory with Rashee Rice that may lead up to a case being filed or something, but we all know that in July of this year, Rice was sentenced to 30 days in jail and 5 years of probation for his role in that multi-car crash in Dallas that he then proceeded to flee from. It was a lot of different things. He received deferred injunction, and the case will be dismissed if he completes probation, which he can do so by being in Dallas for the time that he is not working. And when he's with the Chiefs, he has to stay in Kansas, all that stuff, besides, traveling for work. But lots of things, and there was a bunch of stuff. And obviously, this got him suspended for the first 6 games of this past year for the Kansas City Chiefs. And it really hurt his team. Like, forget what you think about the man, the myth, whatever. You hurt your team by doing stuff like this, and you hurt your team by continuing to do this. And if this is a legitimate and full-hearted decree / if it does get taken to court, if it is something that is all truthful about Rashee Rice, then completely, from my own opinion, he shouldn't be on the team, or there should be bigger forms of consequences than what has been a 6-game suspension from the NFL. And there's been multiple worse things that have happened in NFL history. I understand. I'm not trying to compare this situation to any others, but it's just a addition to what has already been accused of him, and it stings. It really does. He's a very good player, and again, there's not a full-hearted saying that this was him and this is true and all this stuff. And right now, we just have an Instagram post and pictures, and there's no domestic violence case filed. And in a lot of ways, there's a point that this may not be filed. That is a legitimate opportunity that this case, nothing ever happens and never goes to court. It's never placed on there. But at the same time, it's just kind of an interesting situation for the Chiefs and for a lot of people when this post is made. And of course, the alleged is very obviously Rashee Rice. And in that case scenario, it kind of just makes for a world of different questions. So, not going to go too far into this today, just because as of right now, we don't know the facts. There is no court case filed. There is nothing we can tell you besides what the Chiefs said. And it's literally, here's the official quote from basically the whole situation. Quote, "The club is aware of the allegations on social media and is in communication with the National Football League. We have no further comment at this time." So right now, the Chiefs are in communication / cooperation with the NFL. Now, the NFL can launch their own investigation into this, which likely they will. And that, of course, could cause for more investigations to spark, this to officially be taken to court in a lot of different things. And so that is something that can go there and be a position where it puts the Chiefs, it puts Rashee Rice, it puts the organization into a tough factor. And again, it's a whole world and road to go down to that I'm not willing or ready to do that just because it's not something we need to out right now. But just wanted to kind of point that out for a couple of different kind of observations into this. Now, do want to talk about a move that was also made today by the Kansas City Chiefs. They actually fired their wide receiver coach, Conner Embree, today. Not really a shocking move, but there supposedly could be more changes to Andy Reid's staff. This all coming from ESPN's Ian NFL Network, Ian Rappaport. Here's kind of the official report. He's with the Chiefs for 7 seasons, and this was his 3rd year as the wide receiver coach. The Chiefs have failed to have a 1,000-yard receiver in his 3 seasons. And of course, we all know 3 years ago, back to 2023, and the drops that were with that. And so it was time to move on. And there's a very potential big shift in coaching environment, in coaches with the Chiefs, because we talked yesterday about how Matt Nagy is getting interviewed for a couple different head coaching positions. The same can be said for Coach Steve Spagnuolo. And so right now, the Chiefs are kind of at a butting heads way. And there's options out there. We mentioned Cliff Kingsbury, but kind of an interesting decision right here to let go of their wide receivers coach, Embree. He actually played for Kansas and spent 2 years there as an offensive quality control assistant before he switched to a defensive assistant. He was a coach at a high school in Colorado, and he was 2 seasons at KU as a graduate assistant before he finally was, on to the Chiefs staff. Again, 7 seasons with the organization, 3 as the wide receivers coach. The wide receiver is a struggle. I mean, let's just be frank with what has gone down in the past 3 seasons. We look at kind of this year alone, and I understand there is other factors this season than what you're seeing, but you only had a receiver, and it was a tight end in Travis Kelce having 851 yards. Hollywood Brown played in the most games, 16. He only had 587 yards. Kareem Hunt had 143 yards. So did Brashard Smith. I mean, the fact that you had Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, I understand Rashee only played for 8 games, but you had 500 plus yards for both of them and not close to 1,000. You can, again, go back to previous seasons and see that it was similar situations. Did it load? No, maybe it didn't. Either way, last year you could see Xavier Worthy had 638 yards. DeAndre Hopkins had 437 yards and 823 for Travis Kelce. Then, of course, 2023, when the drops really started, 984 for Kelce, 938 in a rookie year for Rashee Rice. Justin Watson, remember that name, 460. Marquise Valdes-Scantling, the king of drops, he had 315 yards. We all know the Sky Moore situation, what happened with that. So just kind of an interesting 3 years as the wide receivers head coach. And just to kind of put this as a comparison, Kelsey had over 1,000 yards in the year before he became the wide receivers coach. Juju had almost 1,000 yards. MVS had 687. McKinnon was in there, and McCole Hardman. I mean, there was a lot of guys who were making some much more profound efforts, which, again, I'm not going to say and sit here that it's 100% the fault of Mr. Conner Embree, but at the same time, when that happens and when a trend is continuous through 3 seasons that you have been that coach, and the trend is that your positionment that you're coaching is not up to the level or the standards of what the Chiefs have wanted, what the Chiefs expect, and especially for what is considered to be an air raid offense, you want your wide receivers to be 1,000-yard receiver every year. You want somebody to absolutely take off. And again, there were extenuating circumstances this year, but at the same time, Patrick Mahomes was only out for the final couple games of the season, and we didn't have a receiver even close to 1,000 yards. And what happens next year? Travis Kelce does end up retiring, and you got nobody to kind of stand on your business for that wide receiver room. It can cause for a lot of different things. Now, again, you obviously have a tight ends coach. It's not going to be all it's not like we're putting all on Conner Embree, but they work, of course, in tandem together. So it's something to coerce about. But it's intriguing and interesting timing, I will say, of this firing. Kind of a weird timing to go on Thursday morning, 4 days after. But I think it, of course, probably goes to the reviewing process. Most teams, I mean, obviously you have your head coaches and your defensive coordinators who day one, Black Monday, day after the regular season ends, or need to be fired and are fired. You can talk about guys like Jonathan Gannon, Raheem Morris. Raheem didn't even make it until Monday. Was fired before the Monday even started. But lots of guys who left their post that day. Chiefs, I guess, took a little longer in their process to kind of weigh their coaches, weigh their coaching staff, and decide what was best for the organization. And in a lot of terms, what was the best move to try and improve their team next season. So that's obviously a huge thing. Speaking of wide receivers, going to talk about Hollywood Brown. Posted an interesting tweet or Instagram, social media post, whatever you want to call it, after the end of the season for the Chiefs. And by all accounts, it kind of seems like it might be done for Hollywood. We'll tell you the latest on that when we come back. But first, let's get this message from DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, makes every playoff moment feel bigger. DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point in the first half, you still get paid in cash. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code 365Chiefs. That's code 365CHIEFS to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, cdkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Again, that's code 365. DraftKings kind of newly live in Missouri here now in the second month. And make sure you go check it out to get those bonus bets. Again, use that code 365Chiefs. Okay, so talking about the wide receivers, obviously their wide receiver coach fired. Hollywood Brown had a kind of interesting, post, let's call it, and we'll talk about here today. But it all kind of leads me to believe that the Chiefs will probably not be having Hollywood Brown next season, which is something that I think we all expected. But let's just read the post. Obviously, we know that Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and Jalen Royals are technically the only receivers that are under contract next season. That is something to note. But here is kind of what he posted on his Instagram story, saying, "Memories that last a lifetime, going to war with the gang. Thank you, Chiefs Kingdom." End quote. Now, while this message doesn't inherently say, I'm not going to come back for the Chiefs, I'm not going to play for y'all, this is the end of the line, I'm going to go play somewhere else, it kind of feels like that for a couple of different reasons. And the first, I think you have to go back to kind of, the stats of Hollywood Brown in what is now his 2 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs. We all know, of course, last year had the injuries and the issues with that, but still in that season, played in 2 games, had 9 receptions for 91 yards this year, played in 16 games, which is the most he had played in since 2021 when he was with the Ravens, and he had 587 yards, in which the last time he played 16 games had over 1,000 yards. Did have 5 touchdowns, though, which, of course, was up there with some of his best seasons, and overall, you do like what he had done here with the Kansas City Chiefs. But there's a bigger picture, and it is the money from what the Chiefs have. It is free agency and what the Chiefs are looking to get in the wide receiver room. It's the draft and the potential of them getting some top tier wide receiver at their pick number 9. Also, there's options of them deciding to go other ways, and that could be a whole lot of things. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Hollywood is definitely not going to play for the Chiefs in the next season, or that he is going to be officially done with Kansas City, and that this is obviously a letdown, obviously a donezo deal. But at the same time, it's really hard to see him coming back. Now, he was part of the postseason run, but he had just 5 receptions for 50 yards in the playoffs last year. 16 games, again, 49 catches, 74 targets. They'd have the 5 touchdowns on 587 yards. But the thing that to me just seems like a problem / a question mark the Chiefs really have to face, and maybe part of what they did with them trying to fire their wide receivers coach and change the culture in that wide receiver room, is that speed has always been a outstanding metric for the Chiefs. You go to Tyreek Hill, and obviously he has a lot more than just his speed. He's a fantastic wide receiver, but you talk about Xavier Worthy in the draft there, getting Hollywood Brown. I mean, it was the Legion of Zoom is what they were going to call this Chiefs wide receiver room had it worked out. But it didn't. It didn't. In the 2 years that they had the quote-unquote Legion of Zoom with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, and, of course, adding in Hollywood Brown for those 2 years, nothing amounted. Nothing happened. They didn't grow in a situation where they wanted to. They didn't get the right informative pieces. They didn't get the right positional alignments for those wide receivers, and that can cause some problems. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of things the Chiefs are going to have to figure out this offseason, as they are negative 40+ million in the hole for this upcoming year in their cap hit. And they're not going to have a ton of, let's say, extra funds. And when you already have Rashee Rice, when you already have Xavier Worthy, I don't know that wide receiver is going to be the number 1 on your list, and especially wide receiver for a guy like Hollywood Brown, who has been here for 2 years and has not performed to maybe the level you wanted him to. You also got to look at a backup QB. You got a potential alignment situation you got to figure out, and the financial situation just all around it. Just they don't see a great thing, and I think there's a couple of different things that could be a addition to this. Is the resurgence of Tyquan Thornton, and the fact that I think the Chiefs are really going to try and get him back for this upcoming year. Of course, you talk about the potential for 4th-round pick Jalen Royals to come and maybe get some opportunities. Juju Smith-Schuster could be a guy that they could get in a small deal, but there's a lot of things to kind of worry about with this wide receiver room. And I don't think that Hollywood, for the price that he is going to expect and the deal that he's going to want, is going to be warranted for the Kansas City Chiefs. And of course, that is something that the Chiefs and Brett Veach and the organization are going to have to figure out over these next couple months to decide what are the best options, what is the best choice for the basically success of this team in 2026. Patrick Mahomes should be back. There should be a lot of positive things, but at the end of the day, what is going to be the thing that makes them succeed in the best situation? And so, speaking of 2026, talked a lot about the kind of overarching theme of next year, obviously making changes right now, firing wide receiver coach. We know, of course, that Hollywood Brown is potentially gone, but looking at, of course, the opponents we now know for the Chiefs, it is a very interesting schedule. So first of all, here is a list, or rather a picture of the opponents. They will face the Broncos at home. They will face the Chargers at home, and they will face the Raiders at home. They'll also face those 3 away because, well, it's in their conference. We all know that. But here's where it gets a little more interesting. Their home and away opponents based on where they finished in the AFC West. You have the Arizona Cardinals that you're going to face at home. You're going to face the San Francisco 49ers at home, the Indianapolis Colts at home, the New England Patriots at home, and the New York Jets at home in 2026. Whereas your away opponents will face the Bengals, the Bills, the Dolphins, and your three NFC teams as they're going to face off against the NFC South, or rather NFC West, They're going to face off against the Rams and the Seahawks, who are the top two teams in that conference, and kind of how the scheduling works. You'll also face the Atlanta Falcons next season. So interesting things. You're going to get the home games against San Fran and against Arizona. You're going to have to go to Seattle. You're going to have to go to LA. It's kind of the way that they just are arranged, and it's all based on really where you finish in your division / where the other teams finish. And given the Chiefs were in the bottom two of the division, they got to face the other bottom two at home, whereas they'll face the top two in the away rights. So that is something where it's just kind of an interesting situation of the way they schedule out the 2026, but it's just how it will work with AFC West. You'll also face the team in the NFC South in the same position, which is the Atlanta Hawks. Going to be a fun season. I like a lot of the matchups. I think it does stink because, in my opinion, the best conference this year was that NFC West, and you get to face them because the Niners, the Rams, and the Seahawks are all very good. They're all in the playoffs. Luckily, the Cardinals shouldn't be good. They also just fired their head coach, so that's a great one. But having to go to Seattle, having to go to LA, it's not exactly fun. It's yet to be seen what happens with the Bengals and what's going on with them. Joe Burrow's great, but the rest of that organization is severely flawed. The Buffalo Bills, obviously, you'll face away, which kind of sucks. You had to go to Orchard Park this year, and you're going to go back to Orchard Park next year. You will get the Jets, though, at home next season, which will be nice, along with the Dolphins away and the Patriots. You'll have to get them at home, which will be nice because the way the Patriots are playing this year, you'd think they're probably going to continue on next season, and you get a little bit of advantage by being in Arrowhead, which is a place that, when Patrick Mahomes is on the field, plays very well against AFC opponents. So those are the opponents for 2026. Just want to get you to round out today's show. I feel like we hadn't talked about the next year and their schedule just yet, so wanted to kind of finish off with that. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section on any of these situations on Rashee Rice and what you believe will end up happening, if it'll be a case, and your thoughts on the situation. Do you believe it was right for the Chiefs to fire Conner Embree, their wide receivers coach? And is it time to end the relationship for the Chiefs and Mr. Hollywood Brown? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section, but we appreciate you. And we'll see you next time here on the Chiefs Report, a part of 365 Sports. Again, don't forget to get your bonus bets on DraftKings. Use that code 365Chiefs. And of course, nice and new in Missouri. Got playoff football here. It's a great time to use those bonus bets. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time here on the Chiefs Report. Peace out, guys.
365 Sports.